Hi, I'm Nazareen Ebrahim from Socially Acceptable. We are a social tech enterprise based in South Africa, committed to impacting change in Africa through research, training, and mentorship. Our company's flagship project is called AI Africa Report. It aims to become the most comprehensive portal of knowledge and research on the African continent. We're really pleased today to be able to present a session called Customer Service in the Age of AI for AI Expo Africa. We really thank the team at AI Expo Africa for giving us this opportunity. Today's topic is a lot about understanding why and how customer service works in the age of AI. But before I proceed and take you through the presentation, just a bit of conversation around the subject, our particular focus at Socially Acceptable and within the AI Africa Report project is around AI ethics. So we talk about this subject based on our research and current insights into the landscape as a marketing company in our other projects as well. So it's an interesting subject and trying to understand why and how customer service will only deepen as AI layers it deeper and deeper going into the future. So we'll take a look at the presentation and we'll kick off on our journey around understanding what it means. As we move along here, let's understand what we want to talk about. And it's always a good place to start. So we want to look at customer service in the age of AI. So define it, then look at some industry use cases, some good and bad examples, as well as what the future holds. I think that will lay a nice framework in how we can understand it. If we move on, how would you define customer service in the age of AI? Well, there's one way to look at it. Using automated services to respond to customers quicker than a human being. Now, this is true. You could define it in this way, but let's look at it in a simple manner. What's your experience of understanding how artificial intelligence works for customer services? Let's look at them in two parts. Artificial intelligence is a way to be able to automate a current practice that a human being would normally generally do. What is that one practice? A practice could be as simple as a human being picking up a telephone, going into a customer's physical location, contacting them online, and connecting with a real human being. How can you replace that particular interaction? You can replace it with an automated system, or what's generally known as a bot, to be able to facilitate that transaction. The transaction is a first interaction, a first layer, something that allows you to get an immediate response or a question, an answer to your question. An example of that would be, what are your opening and closing times today? If you were to take that into a scenario like Facebook, the Messenger app on Facebook could very simply bring up the answers based on your query and say, our opening times for these weekdays are, and our closing times for these weekdays are. We don't work weekends, or we work only on selected times at weekends. And you've gotten your answer. That didn't require a human being to be present, and it also was an immediate response. So automated services are purely how people understand customer service in the age of AI, but it goes deeper than that. And we'll look at the use cases as we move on. So industries and use cases. The most common industries that use artificial intelligence in customer service these days, and we have experienced them as people, is finance, education, retail. And there are many other industries that use this, healthcare included, but we will focus on the most popular that we know, retail being one of them. There was a great example of Macy's that used using IBM's Watson, used an in-store augmented reality version of how customers could interact with products or have a shop assistant. That was a good example to look at. So if you looked at retail, augmented reality would be a way in which to deepen or improve customer service without the need for an actual sales assistant or a human being to be present, answering questions like, do you have this type of top available? Are they available in these colors? What sizes do you have available? Where would my particular size be located? And can I order it from that particular branch? How quickly can I have something delivered to my home? And what payment options are available? Those would be the first primary top level questions a shopper may have. And so when you look at those examples, you can understand how those can be easily facilitated by an immediate response system rather than having a human being at that first response. A human being's role can then be elevated to deepening the experience of customer care by having hyper-personalization enabled in that manner. So those are just some of the examples. Finance is another really good industry to look at because they've been, I would say, almost first to market. And South Africa is a good example in that, where you look at the top 4 financial institutions, as well as other financial institutions like the insurance sector, using AI in customer service to not only meet them in the first instance of asking a simple question online, what is my balance? Or how can I apply for a home loan? To also deepening that customer experience on being selected through personalization methods on what products may be best suited for me as a customer. So those are interesting examples. If we move on, we look at some particular instances where AI in customer service is used. So we've got chatbots used as a first contact for customer query. And everyone has experienced this, whether you're using your mobile and you've asked Facebook bot a question on a company page, or you've gone onto a website and the first pop-up you would see is an example of a bot speaking to you and asking you, would you like to explore these particular products? When you clicked on a product you were interested in, as an example is a home loan, it would give you the range of options based on understanding your personality or customer profile. They're always first layer transaction processes that are quicker, faster, and don't need a deeper customer experience. And so the turnaround time is really quick. Sentiment analysis. This means that let's look at a tool like Grammarly. Grammarly is commonly known or most popularly used for writing in a better way online. It's able to automatically pick up your tone, register, and the type of words you're using, cut out unnecessary words, cut out jargon, and also understand what kind of tone you're using. And it will tell you whether it's powerful, inspiring, thoughtful, neutral, angry, and you're able to then adjust your tone based on how you want your customer, the intended recipient, to receive that. That's a really nice way of starting to train these models on how to be able to receive message. Google is another interesting example. When you're writing an email, and a lot of people would have experienced this, it automatically completes sentences for you. And this is the way in which you're able to increase productivity, but also understand how to start better using these systems by automating some processes in your business. The marketing funnel drive. This is an interesting one for marketers because a lot of the time, in the past, you would have to map out different parts of the customer journey in order for you to reach a customer based on where they are in the buying journey. A lot of these processes these days are automated. And a marketer now wants to spend their time looking at the data that's being generated in the business around the customer and building personalized experiences that really talk to what the customer would enjoy or like from that particular business. And also understanding where they have pain points, so those can be dealt with as immediately as possible through sentiment analysis or social listening. Social listening meaning you would employ any available technologies, of which there are numerous, to go online and listen to the chatter on different social media platforms. You can follow them through trends, hashtags, types of conversations, groups, and using the technologies that you would use, you would be able to then plug in with your particular brand, either to your customers' conversations or prospective customers who are looking for your type of service and address their pain points. If you do that by giving them a simple, easy to link in or lead in solution, most likely they're able to go to your website and enjoy the turnaround time there. So marketing funnel drive, using automated tools to reach customers at different parts of the buying journey. How many times have you signed up for a service and receive an email a few days later if you've forgotten to verify your email, or you've forgotten to maybe claim the free offer or purchase that the service you signed up for was giving to you? you would receive a reminder email in 3 days, 6 days, 2 weeks, depending on where you are in the buying journey. And so these tools are put into place in the first instance to help fast track a business who wants to improve the customer service, the customer user journey, the buying journey. Whatever journey that you're going on as a customer, you will interact on different points at different places with a kind of tool from the business itself. It's very interesting to see these examples and how they're being used. So when you look at great implementation and live chat, or live person, this is an example of what their chat facility looks like. Now, they have, what they're trying to do is to make sure that you get an immediate response. And that's what the software wanted to do, the software as a service wanted to do, was you get an immediate response from a bot. Depending on the intensity or level of questioning from the customer, what's your account number? They could then add in their account number, and based off that, it would give other links or opportunities for you to answer, depending on the level of intensity. But if the level of intensity increased and the bot was not able to respond based on sentiment, emotion, and other factors that required a human being present, then it would hand over to a human being. And then based off the intensity of human beings, then able to hand over back to the bot who's able to facilitate or tie up that transaction process. So you can see from this example here, this particular example, how much more integrated AI can become in customer service, also removing the need or the fear that customer service is taking over the jobs of human beings, which we know is a great debate, but not, I would lean more to the positive side rather than the negative side, being that AI will supplement our job roles rather than take them over completely. In some instances they do, where the need for automation is great, but in most instances, they supplement what workers already are doing, allowing workers to focus on the real value factor elements of their jobs. So let's move on. Not so great implementation. A lot of people will remember Tay, the Microsoft bot offering on Twitter that wanted to start having casual, playful conversations with people. And based on her training and what came out of that, it didn't seem so great. She started being quite racist and gender prejudiced against gender, and other forms of negative output that severely affected the way her implementation would have worked. Now Microsoft's working on it again and wants to release it, or they have released it or are trying to in a beta test, but it will remain to be seen how we can get these bots to start learning based on the kind of data that's available and the sentiment around it, based on people's own bias of the worldview that they have. Another interesting example was Amazon's AI, when it used to select people for recruitment. Only problem with that is that they found that the engineers who had trained this particular system to recruit potential workers or candidates was more biased towards male candidates, or rather more preferential towards male candidates and biased towards female ones. That was an interesting example, and they had to pull it away and so understand the data training sets. In a recent webinar that we talked around AI ethics, we looked at how data sets were the most critical component of an entire system's understanding of whether AI works for the good or not. So that's another debate to have, but it's interesting examples that we see when customer service is applied in the realm of AI. So let's move on. Okay, as we approach the end of our conversation and understanding very briefly what customer service means in the age of AI, what does the future hold for customer service in AI? Well, just to go through it very briefly, social media will be the standard customer service engagement tool. We've already seen that. Twitter is primarily used by many major corporations and brands, as we know and love them, as a customer service channel. But it doesn't mean that you will be the only one. Omni-channel customer service will be a primary expectation. And that means that if I can't get you on Twitter, or the first contact I made with you was on Twitter, and you as a brand responded on Twitter, gave me a case number, and wanted to follow up with me, that can be either through an email, a telephone call, a Facebook message, the dashboard of a particular app that I'm using, a push notification coming to my mobile, being able to reach me on time so that I know my case is resolved, or my expectations as a customer are being managed, so that I understand when I can expect a resolution. And if there is no resolution, what is the next step to actually solve my pain point? And we see that happening at the moment, where you've got multiple channels that you can reach a brand through. Some brands may specify that you can only tweet them between these hours. Or if you use their WhatsApp line for any queries, you need to have a certain format in which to communicate with them. If you reach them through that, then their customer call center is no longer available, or the high call rate prevents you from being able to reach a customer in time, and it can result in 10 to 12 minutes of waiting time. That's not great for an overall customer experience, right? So when brands are looking at their overall customer experience, they're looking at which channels they're using as first point contacts, where they're sending customers after that, and how can that process be automated. And if customers are using an experience, are there particular channels to deal with customer queries? And are there particular channels to experience the brand? Experience the brand as in the products and services that the brand has. And are there new ways in which, through augmented reality, virtual reality, and AI, being able to facilitate a quicker experience through the online journey for a customer to understand a particular brand or element? That's going to be interesting to see. And of course, data. Data will deepen the customer services experience, making hyper-personalized experiences the normal. The normal being what we know now, having lived through lockdown in the coronavirus pandemic that has hit the globe. We know that data will be the way that we understand a customer much better. What are the ethical use cases around how we take data to inform a customer's marketing journey, or our marketing journey as brands, as we inform a customer's buying journey? Those are important questions to ask. And as we use the tools are freely available. There are multiple ways in which to build customer journeys through a funnel to get them to advocacy and buying stages, and to increase the lifetime of a buyer, the lifetime value of a buyer, as well as the lifetime buying journey of the buyer. But how are we using this data, and where are we sourcing it, and how much of that data did our customer actually say or consent to giving us? Those are important questions to ask, and ones that we are always asking at Socially Acceptable, because our focus here is around the implications of artificial intelligence, but also its ability to be used for good. So I know that we had very brief discussion on what customer service in the age of AI means, but there are necessary questions to ask. We will need a masterclass to go through how to actually or practically implement how you can use different types of programs or methodologies, as well as software as service platforms, to be able to execute any part of your customer service buying journey or customer journey. There are many platforms, but our focus here also, as we run alongside our other stream of enabling marketing services for clients, is asking the right questions, so that we're always implementing an ethical buying journey for our customers, meaning that their consent is primary, but also how often we're reaching them in their buying journey, and what kind of, when you're trying to convince someone, what kind of mechanisms are we using to convince the buyer to buy with us, is of primary importance. You can't force people, neither can you manipulate them, but what are we doing anyway in marketing? So those are the kind of questions that you want to be asking when we look at how we're using AI for building, improving, and deepening the customer service in the future. These are our details to get in touch with us. And I really hope that you were able to take away something from this short talk. But if you want to talk about AI ethics and continue the conversation around how AI develops the marketing journey to improve the customer experience, then don't hesitate to get in touch, and we'll be really pleased to have a chat with you. Our details are up on the screen here. Email naz@sociallyacceptable.co.za. That's my email address. Or you can email talk@sociallyacceptable.co.za and get in touch with us, and we'll be really happy to chat with you. Don't forget to check out our AI Africa Report YouTube channel, where every week we talk to an incredible innovator, thought leader, and thinker around artificial intelligence on the African continent. We've got some really interesting interviews up there, as well as on our Facebook page. So don't miss out. Weekly, we have those conversations. Thanks very much for listening, and good luck to the team at AI Expo Africa. We're really pleased that we were able to join you, and thanks for having us. We'll chat with you next time.